Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity to perform for the school board and for the people assembled here. We are from Veterans Park Academy for the Arts. This is our 3rd through 5th grade elementary cub choir. And even though this is early in the school year, we are excited to have the opportunity to perform here for the school board. We have 4 songs that we will perform for you this evening, and they are All In, Over My Head, and Everything is Awesome. And then we're going to close with Your Grand Old Flag. I hope you enjoy this evening.
Wake up, Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We are ready to start this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of September 27, 2016 is now called to order. The time is 6:03 p.m. At this time, we request all electronic devices be turned off or put into the silent mode. We also ask that you please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentation portions of the meeting. We'd like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Prior to the start of this evening's board meeting, we have been enjoying the Veterans Park Academy for the Arts Cub Choir. The choir is made up of 3rd through 5th grade students that meet weekly with their music teacher, Mr. David Norris, from 7 to 7:45 every Friday. Although they do not have to audition, attendance at all practices is required. They have practiced with Mr. Norris 4 times prior to this evening's performance. Tonight they performed All In by Mac Huff and John Jacobson, Over My Head, arranged by Emily Crocker, and Everything is Awesome from the Lego Movie. Their final selection will be You're a Grand Old Flag by George Cohan. They want to thank the members of the Lee County School Board, the Superintendent, Dr. Greg Atkins, Lee Byer, and Principal Laura Stanford for their providing for this performance opportunity. At this time, the Cub Choir will now perform once more for you. Thank you. At this time, we'll take a brief recess to allow our performers to exit the building. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will now resume the regular school board meeting of September 27th. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, 2 recognitions, public comment, consent action items, which include 2 items under resolutions, 3 items under executive services, 2 items under academic services, 4 items under business services, 2 items under human resources, 1 item under operations. There are 4 superintendent recommendations, 3 public hearings, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Dozier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. At this point, Ms. La Riviere will deliver the invocation, after which Ms. Morgan will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. After the special presentation portion of the agenda, the brief recess will be called for those who wish to depart and have an opportunity to do so. Please rise for the invocation.
Will you please join me? Father, how absolutely amazing it is to see our children and to see our children enjoying life and enjoying the gifts that they have. And how awesome to see a perfect example of just how, Lord, that we can be so inclusive for all of our students with physical and learning disabilities, and that everybody can be incorporated. Father God, you have gifted us and the public school system with a very courageous task of teaching all students and wanting them to succeed and become all that they can be, all that they were created and designed to be. Father, I pray for each of our students, for our teachers as they work with our students, give them wisdom. Father, I pray for this evening, Lord, that you would give wisdom and clarity of mind. And thank you so much for the parents that were willing to give up their evening, drive all the way into town for their children. I pray safe travels for them all on their way back home. And Father, I just give this evening to you. May it be one that brings you honor and honor to each one here. In your name, amen.
Amen. Tonight, the cadet presenting the national colors will be introduced by Master Sergeant Ignacio Villaverde of the Riverdale JROTC program. Master Sergeant Villaverde retired after 21 years of service as a senior healthcare NCO and combat medic with the United States Army.
Thank you. The national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be presented by Cadet Captain Lindsay Hagedish from Riverdale High School Junior ROTC program. Cadet Hagedish is a battalion commander and is in her 4th year in Junior ROTC. Lindsay has a 3.6 GPA and is a member of the JROTC drill team, color guard, and honor guard. Cadet Hagedish is also the vice president of the Riverdale chapter of Florida Future Educators of America. Upon graduation, she will attend Furman University to pursue a degree in chemistry. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Good evening.
We have two recognitions, and I'm going to combine them because they involve the same group of outstanding individuals. I would like the district's Executive Director of Financial Accounting, Ms. Susan Millay, and Director of Financial Accounting, Mr. Mark Santiago, to join me at the lectern. I would also like for accountants from the Financial Accounting Department to come forward, Ms. Lucy Best, Ms. Sarah Cox, Ms. Jeanette Ingersoll, and Ms. Lori Taunt. Welcome. The district's Financial Accounting Department has once again earned two of the most prestigious awards in the financial accounting field. Both are related to the preparation and reporting of the district's comprehensive annual financial report, CAFR, for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2015. The first award is the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, presented by the Association of School Business Officials International. And the second award is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, presented by the Government Finance Officers Association. The fact that our Financial Accounting Department has received these awards for the past 13 years speaks volumes of the expertise and dedication of this staff. We are so pleased to recognize the Financial Accounting Department for receiving these awards.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. I'd like to invite Mr. Mark Santiago, the Director of our Financial Accounting Department, to recognize our team.
Thank you, Ms. Millay and Ms. Fisher. Mr. Toiber, Dr. Atkins, and board members, thank you for the opportunity to recognize my staff on receiving these two awards. Awards like these are not possible to obtain without the tireless efforts of my accountants that are here with me tonight, and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge them all. Sarah Cox, our grants accountant, Lucy Best, our food service and accounts receivable accountant, Lori Tant, our accounts payable and reconciliation accountant, and Jeanette Ingersoll, our fiscal control supervisor. It's through their teamwork, experience, and expertise, and through the work of all of the financial accounting staff that we've been able to achieve these two awards tonight. I know that every district director, if given the opportunity, would say that they have the best staff in the district. But I truly believe that I've been blessed to work alongside the absolute best staff in the district. So I thank them and I thank the board for your continued support of the Financial Accounting Department and for acknowledging us on these awards tonight. Thank you.
This time of the meeting is next on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Martin, would you please address the agenda item of public comment?
School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda. or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the card submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board chair, Mr. Torba, will give you an opportunity in a moment to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. The board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the conclusion of public comment time, the school board chair may address concerns raised by speakers or may assign responsibility to the superintendent to do so. Speakers are expected to act in a respectful manner. Those who fail to do so after being warned by the meeting chair may be required to leave the meeting. Disruptive attacks on individuals are prohibited. Time allowed per speaker is 3 minutes. Mr. Toiber, I have 6 cards this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Is there anybody in the audience that did not get the opportunity to fill out a card but would like to address the board? Please raise your hand. 1. Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Martin, your first card.
You're from Dervahanian.
Good evening. Yepram Dervahanian, Lehigh Acres, Florida. And again, I love my country and I fear my government. 2 little subjects that came up to me and it just kind of irritated me. I had it on my computer and I wish I'd printed it out. There was a study that more males are not going on to higher education and the numbers keep going down. That was a concern to me. I mean, I think we need our males from the inner cities, wherever, to move on, get a better education, get through college, and better their lives. And when I heard this, I wish I printed it out, but it's a concern to me. I want to see more males get a higher education. Second thing, real quick, on bullying. I'm from Detroit. I grew up through Detroit. I've been bullied all my life. I don't like bullies, but it made me a man. It made me stand up for my rights. I played hockey, football. I played hockey most of my life, and nobody pushed me around that ice. I also was in the service through a Ranger training academy, and they beat you. They beat you. They wanted to beat you, and I stood up to them. The good part for bully, maybe, that's the only good part. But again, I'm against it, but it did help me. Nobody pushed me around. Thank you for hearing me out.
George Fox.
Thank you, Board. First, I'd like to start by welcoming Pam back. I hope you're feeling better. And I wanted to thank you in person for my appointment to the Finance Committee last year, the last 2 years. It was great. I think we did some good things, and I hope the new committee does as well. Hopefully. Am I on? Okay. Came in here tonight to stick with it. I really would like to see the board get out there to the public. This is something that is the difference that this board needs to do. It needs to change what the Board of Education means. It means board members, yes, board members need to get out in the public every other week, holding public meetings. You can use school buildings, churches, all kinds of organizations. There are limitless number of places that you can reach parents and kids and motivate them. If this board would do that, I think this school district would soar immensely. Superintendent's doing a great job, cleaning up a lot of messes, got a lot of great initiatives, but the power that this board has would multiply what he's doing infinitely. It takes initiative and willpower to go out and do it. You can't just sit up here and pass policies, which is important, but it's really not getting anything done. Guys, make a commitment to get out there when the new board comes on. Can you imagine all 7 of you out in the district, in the county, every other Tuesday? You know, getting parents and kids to come in there so you can talk to them, get them motivated, tell them exactly really what's going on in the district so it's not a big mystery. And the initiative that you would show would make this the best school district in the state immediately. Just for that reason alone, nobody else is doing that. Get out there and make your time on this board worth something. And give the taxpayers their money's worth. That's always a nice thing. The last thing I'd like to say once again is the health initiatives that Superintendent brought forward. I think that's very important. I think this board should very much work towards that end. It's a great idea and something that would very much help the students, because they're all trying to find out who they are, what they are, where they're going, and who, the whole thing. And the health initiative would go a long way into solving a lot of the problems that this district has to deal with. You'll never solve it all, but it would help. So I thank you very much, and get out there and do it.
Angela Melvin.
Hello, thank you. Angela Melvin, Fort Myers, Florida. I am the founder of a new organization that is partnering with your schools, and just wanted to first of all thank you and also tell you a little bit more about it. Valerie's House is an organization that some of you may have heard of. I see you shaking your head, nodding your head, for children who have lost a parent or sibling. And with the help of your schools, especially Mary Lynn Rodriguez with school counseling and Pam Laviere, we have been able to get in front of your counselors over the past year, and we're serving about 52 kids in the Lee County school system. We are not inside of the school system. Valerie's House is actually a separate home that's located in the Dean Park area of downtown Fort Myers, and kids and their caregivers come to our home once or twice a week, or pardon me, every other week, sometimes more if they need it, and they bond with other children who have lost someone. There is no other program like this in the community. I launched it about a year ago in memory of my mother, who was Valerie, who I lost here in Fort Myers in 1987 in a car accident. My father and I and my little sister, when my sister and I went back to Heights Elementary School, and we didn't know anyone else in school who had lost a parent. And my father, at the age of 31, didn't know any other men. And so I made it my mission and my initiative when I moved back here a couple years ago to find something for kids and families. We are going full speed ahead. We are opening up a campus in Cape Coral, and very excited. We could not have done it without the open arms of your school counselors and the people in leadership with the school board. We have been able to serve many children because of the referrals, and we just can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Terry Johns.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me come in and speak. My name is Terry Johns. I'm a Cape High parent. This is my daughter, a junior, third year, ROTC. She's third highest rank in the entire program. Very promising future until last Thursday. We have no idea what her future is going to be now with her medical. The system has failed my daughter. There needs to be some changes with the zero tolerance policies, the code of conducts. There needs to be some immediate changes so that this does not happen again to another child. There is not a lot that I can speak because this is an active investigation right now. However, I am speaking on behalf of my daughter because of the pain that she's in. What I want to know is, I want you to explain to me what is proper procedure when a student is hurt at school. What is the proper procedure? Can someone answer that?
Ms. Johns, the board doesn't respond during public comment. Your questions may be responded to, may be answered later in the meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I need some answers. And I need to have these answers right away. Now, because of this, with my daughter's injuries, I have medical bills that I cannot pay that I'm not even responsible for. With her head injury in the classroom by another student, but no one saw anything. Somebody saw something. My daughter had a promising career to be in journalism. I don't know what the future holds for her at this point. And I'm here to get these changed, to get these things changed in the conduct book so that this does not happen to another parent. I'm a single parent working 2 jobs 7 days a week. I could lose my job for having to take off early and come down here for this tonight. I've already lost several days from work having to deal with this situation. There needs to be some changes. And the taxpayers are here to support me to see that these changes are made. Thank you.
Bob Valenta.
In the past, the district has been guilty of not protecting students attacked by fellow students. In fact, it's one of the main reasons #Nancy Graham had to go. So now we have students claiming to be with Black Lives Matter on campuses in Lee County with black males beating up white girls, putting them in the emergency room, and claiming the reason is that she was white. That's racism, pure and simple, not to mention a federal hate crime. Yet no one wants to address this situation. The school bounces it to the district bounces it back to the school. The sheriff's department bounces it to the SRO, and the SRO says he didn't see it happen, so there's nothing he can do. Do we really want to teach kids that as long as LEOs don't witness a crime, especially a violent felony, that they can get away with it? Well, guess what? The Lee County Citizens Education Action Committee is willing to step up to the plate. We will be supporting the families affected by this criminal behavior. And we will be doing it loud and proud, which is more than I can say for some of you. In fact, I don't know why I bother addressing the board members anymore anyways. Dr. Adkins, we the peeps want to know what is being done to arrest and prosecute the individuals responsible. We understand that there's an open investigation, so you may be limited on what you can say. That doesn't mean you have to remain completely silent. The public wants to know that their children are safe in our schools. Please address this issue and the concerns of the public. Now on a different topic. For the last couple of years, I've commented about why we start school so early. I'm told that the teachers want to have a longer Christmas break so they can travel. Well, no one actually uses the word Christmas. But I always reply by saying it needs to be about the kids, not the adults, which is when the reason changes to it being for the kids so they can take their high-stakes test before the break. I have argued that most schools start the day after Labor Day, and that's up north where it's cooler because their hottest summer months are July and August. Here on the surface of the sun, however, our hottest 2 months are August and September, and sometimes into October. We should be starting at least after Labor Day, if not later. The savings on electric for AC would be huge. The argument I get for that one is that we would have to have the AC on anyways. You know, when I'm at home, when I'm not at home, my thermostat goes to 80. That way it runs enough to keep things cool and to remove humidity and moisture, but not so much that the bill goes through the roof. I'm betting most families do the same. It makes sense, doesn't it? So now we find out that kids have been traveling for hours on school buses with no AC and the windows up. This is child abuse, folks, pure and simple. The district's response is that there is no mandatory AC on buses. Ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. Valenta. Your time's up, sir. Tiffany Carter Major.
Good evening. Like you heard, my name is Tiffany Carter Major. This is my daughter. Her name is Diamond. Diamond is one of the happiest children I know.
she is also a student at Cape Coral High School. Friday that just passed by, I got a call from my daughter saying that she wanted to come home. She didn't want to be there anymore. She was very upset and crying. Me being her mother, I became very furious and came down to the school to find out that a little boy had not only taken her phone and broke it, but grabbed her by her wrist and slung her on the ground. I went to the school. I spoke to Miss Sparks, which she was a great person. She didn't give me the answers that I wanted, but she really helped out. I told them I wanted to press charges. I didn't want to hear anything that was going on. I was told that if I pressed charges, then the school couldn't do their investigation because school law and outside of school law are completely different. So I held off on pressing charges. They told me to sign a piece of paper until that was over with. I got a call from the school saying that the investigation was over. They showed me the video of this little boy grabbing my daughter until it goes into a blind spot where you can't see anything. All you see is the children running in to where this was going on. My daughter was reprimanded. I asked why my daughter was reprimanded, because she went after the boy that broke her phone and pushed her on the ground and grabbed her hand. My daughter is all in 99 pounds. She's about 5 foot. She is one of the most, like I said, one of the most happiest girls I know. And it broke my heart to know that I run an organization, and the organization is Art of Inner Beauty. And Art of Inner Beauty works with bullying, human trafficking, inner city crime when you lose your parents through violence in the Dunbar community. And my daughter's a part of that. She's over the youth part of that, and she works primarily with people who've been bullied. And now she considers herself as a victim. Cape Coral High School did nothing about it, nothing. And Mr. Bell, who is the AP there, came straight into the office and reprimanded my daughter. Why was your phone out? If your phone wasn't out, he couldn't have took your phone away from you. After they found out he was a football player, no one wanted to have anything to do with it. This child played the game that Friday. The Friday it happened, he played that game. My daughter was reprimanded that Friday. He came back to school Monday with no consequences that I know of. He put his hands on my daughter. Something should be done, not just restorative justice where you can just say, oh, well, you get counseling and leave out of there. That's not gonna happen, I'm not gonna stop until something more happens to what happened than my daughter. Something has to happen, something has to change.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up. Those are all the cards, Mr. Torber.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Mr. Castellano.
Good evening. I'm Mark Castellano, President of the Teachers Association of Lee County. Very briefly, I just wanted to mention that this Saturday is Patty Lochner's memorial service. It is at Covenant Presbyterian Church on McGregor Boulevard at 11 a.m. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. I talked to Ms. Stillwell earlier this evening. I'm going to send her the information, and she said she would distribute that district-wide, because we've been having people call our office. Are y'all aware that this is going on? And so, yes, it is. Anyway, I thought I'd just like to make that public reminder. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castellano. Next, in the approval of the action items in the agenda under the consent. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business? Ms. Fisher.
I have no pulls this evening.
Dozier.
Yes, I have Roman numeral 4E1, page 62.
Thank you. Ms. Morgan.
I have none.
Ms. LaRiviere.
I have none.
And I have none. Board members, is there a motion to approve the agenda consent action items minus 4E1?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Morgan, second by Ms. LaRiviere. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move to page 62, item 4E1. Dr. Atkins, would you please read 4E1 for us?
I recommend board approval of the general personnel recommendations, including administrative, certificated, support, and substitute staff, out-of-field appointments, and annual reappointments.
Board members, I have a motion to approve the item just read.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Dozier. Any discussion? Ms. Dozier.
Yes, thank you. There is an appointment on tonight for a change of assignment for an individual that I said is like, I heard somebody call him the Energizer Bunny. I said he has a gold finger. Everything he touches turns to gold. He has been a principal in this school for, I'm not going to count how many years, but numerous schools. He's been in schools that today would be called turnaround schools. And just recently, he had a position in a school that no one has been successful in that school. And yet, it's one of the most successful schools in our community today. Parents are standing in line wanting to get their children in there. We get phone calls wanting to get their children in there. And I'm just so excited that now he's going to have a farther outreach by being a turnaround principal or changing from a principal on assignment to the executive director of turnaround schools. I want to thank you for doing this, and I will overwhelmingly be supporting this. Thank you.
Any other comments, board members? I'll also, Ms. Fisher.
Yes, I concur. In 1987, Dr. Santini hired me to come and work for him, and it was an amazing experience. And I was the one who called him the Energizer Bunny because he and I are about the same age, and I can't keep up with the man. He has provided experiences to kids that 30 years ago that they still remember, and now he can help other principals to do the same, and I'm very excited about your new position.
I also would like to support this motion, but I was real hesitant because I don't know how the Nutcracker is going to be the same. I just don't know without one of the star performers. So that's going to be Mr. Mullins' major hurdle to get over because it's been phenomenal, and we thank you for all of that, and we look forward to this new position. Members, Ms. Dozier.
I could say one other thing. Dr. Santini also stood in last night for you, and it was really funny because Commissioner Brian Hammond was standing up there, and he said, you know, teachers make a difference, principals make a difference. He says, you know what, there's a man in the audience, you know, and he recognized him as, you know, standing in for you, and he had quite a bit to say about how he had impacted his life and how he had really turned him around because he could, you know, might not have been where he was today. So big outreach in the community.
I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have a round of applause for Mr. Santini. Also included in the approval of the consent items on the agenda are the resolutions proclaiming October 1 through October 15th as Disability History and Awareness Weeks. October 2016 is National Bullying Prevention Month. Dr. Atkins, other than stealing your thunder with Dr. Santini, is there any other administrators in attendance that you'd like to acknowledge?
No, that would be the only one. I do have to say, though, Dr. Santini, when I was a teacher at Pine Island Middle School, when there was a middle school at Pine Island, and the school closed in 1990. So I was on the surplus list, and he pulled me over to Gulf Middle School, and it was a wonderful experience there. And so I owe him a lot, but not only did he do a phenomenal job there, but later on the transformation that occurred at North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, you guys have mentioned that. I was a principal at the time when it was Suncoast Middle, and knew that the difficulties I was experiencing at the time, and got to be a little bit a part of him coming in when I was down in the district office, coming into North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, and just knew what a challenge that he had ahead of him. And then I remember walking that building a number of years later and was just amazed at the transformation. So it's just, he's the right person for this job. He has hit the ground running, and as we saw this afternoon in the briefing, I mean, he is already impacting our DA principals and helping them get the resources and the training and the mentoring that they need to be successful. Thank you for this. Thank you for the support of this appointment.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Moving on to our superintendent's recommendations. Dr. Atkins, would you please read your first recommendation?
I recommend board approval to piggyback state of Florida contract for the purchase of office supplies and products for the period of October 18, 2016 through April 17, 2017, estimated expenditure of $650,000 and the option to cancel deemed to be in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Atkins.
Second, I recommend board approval of the estimated annual expenditure of $670,000 for the RFP awarded to Minnesota Life Insurance Company for the period of April 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2018. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Morgan, seconded by Ms. Dozier. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Atkins.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval of the estimated annual expenditure of $4,800,000 for the RFP awarded to Aetna Life Insurance Company for the period of April 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2018. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you've heard the recommendations. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Morgan. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And Dr. Atkins, your last recommendation.
Recommend board approval of the increase in the total project cost for centralized CEP Veterans Park Academy of the Arts and Lehigh Acres Middle Project by $578,101 for a total project cost of $4,778,101 and authorization for the superintendent to execute all necessary documents.
Board members, you've heard the recommendations. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Dozier. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. This time, before closing the regular meeting and opening the public hearing, I'm going to ask that Dr. Atkins present the recommendations for this evening's public hearing.
Recommend board approval of the deletion of policy 2.21, inspection of copying of public records, and adoption of new school board policy 2.21, inspection and copying of public records to clarify and delineate the requirements of Chapter 119 Florida statutes regarding requests for public records. The effective date of this adoption shall be Wednesday, September 28, 2016. I recommend board approval of the revision of policy 4.14, bullying and harassment, to update the district policy to comply with the requirements of Florida law regarding the bullying programs authorized by the school district to be included in the policy. The effective date of this adoption shall be Wednesday, September 28, 2016. And I recommend board approval of the tentative district facilities work program 2016-2017 through 2035-2036.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open up a public hearing. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider three approvals. The first one is the approval of deletion of policy 2.21, inspection and copying of public records, and adoption of a new school board policy 2.21, inspection and copying of public records. The approval and the revision of policy 4.14, bullying and harassment, and the approval of tentative facilities work program 2016-2017 through 2035-36. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on these three items. The time allowed will be 3 minutes. Is there anyone on the right side that would like to address these meetings? Mr. Fox, anybody else? On the left, Mr. Valenta. Okay, Mr. Fox, please come forward.
Thank you, Board. A tentative facilities work program scheduled for 20 years out. And we're going to borrow every penny to do everything, aren't we? No, we're not. Let's go get the half-cent sales tax and actually pay for things as they're built and as they're used. Open them without debt. Let's be smart. Financially smart. Let's not get in debt to where you have to drive around crappy school buses with no air conditionings in them, right, Mr. Valenta? The reason that is because they're paying so much interest and debt service they can't afford to buy new school buses. Terrible situation. Terrible, terrible. As you go into this, looking ahead 20 years, you got to find the money. And the half-cent sales tax is the best way. It's the only way. And it's the only way that's fair and should be. Don't just do things because it financially get away with it. I challenge this school district to publish the amount of interest they are paying, the interest rate it's paying on Bonita High School, and publish that for the public, and the amount of interest they will be paying on that $72 million. I challenge this board to make that public. Let's not work in the shadows. Let's be public about what we're doing and how you're going to pay for it. It's a good list of what you're going to build. How are you going to pay for it? It takes courage. It takes smarts. It takes a school board who's here to work and tell it like it is, and not make things up and just go along and somehow we make it all happen while our kids are riding around in crappy school buses. Thank you. You get the picture. Thank you.
Okay, I haven't actually had time to read the revision or whatever you want to call it of 221. But in all likelihood and probability, I'm sure you're not making it easier for us to get public records. So in light of my assumption, I'm going to ask you to not vote that up, to not approve that. If I'm wrong, I apologize in advance. If you're making it easier for us to get public records, although I really doubt it, then by all means disregard my comments, like you do anyway. Bullying and harassment. Really? Well, we've heard two parents up here from one school in the same week that have had exactly that, bullying and harassment. Again, because of my work schedule, I've not had time to actually read it. But I doubt that what you're changing in there is that the kid that's being attacked has the right to defend themselves. This is not a constitutional right. This is a God-given right to protect themselves, protected by the Constitution. That particular right, unlike some rights, that particular right is afforded to minors. Okay, not all rights in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution necessarily apply to children. The right to protect oneself is God-given and has no born-on date. Okay. Time and again, we see where this zero-tolerance policy causes the victim to get in trouble for protecting oneself. Again, I haven't read it, so if I'm wrong, I apologize in advance, but I bet there's nothing in here that says, you know what, zero tolerance isn't working, we need to let these kids defend themselves, okay? Not punish them for defending themselves. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Valenta. I will now close this public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of September 27th. Dr. Atkins, would you please restate your recommendations for this evening's public hearing?
I recommend board approval of the deletion of policy 2.21, inspection and copying of public records, and adoption of new school board policy 2.21, inspection and copying of public records, to clarify and delineate the requirements of Chapter 119, Florida statutes regarding the request for public records. The effective date of this adoption shall be Wednesday, September 28th, 2016.
Board members, you heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Dozier. Could I have any discussion? Ms. Dozier.
Yes, I would like to address the comments that were made about this policy. It is an overhaul of the policy, and the policy has been done, please correct me, Mr. Morton, if I'm incorrect, but because of some changes that were made in the legislature, and I believe that the changes are being made so that it will be more user-friendly to the public. One of the things that I have talked about repeatedly at this table is the fact that we need to be more transparent. There are a lot of things that we should be able to put online, and I gave the example of the fact that I have made numerous public records requests for the city of Fort Myers. I have never been charged a fee. They've always emailed it to me, and there are ways that we can do things like that as well. We need to be more customer friendly. I have advocated for that. I will continue to advocate for that. And I think if you were able, if I could spit out a copy of this real quick, I'd give it to you. But I think if you look at this, you will see, I think that it's going to make it easier and more user-friendly for the public.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Martin.
Just for further explanation, as Ms. Dozier said, the rehaul of the rewriting of this policy is a result of an opinion provided by an outside attorney who is an expert and experienced in representing and an advocate for open public records. So the revisions that were made are in response to the recommendations that he provided to the school district.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Dr. Atkins.
Well, and just specifically, I mean, one of the recommendations that he made was that we could not delay the issuance of a public record so that an employee had an opportunity to review a file or something like that. So that would expedite this process. This was intended to be a reaction to some concerns that had been brought forward by the public. And for that reason, we sought outside counsel with this type of background as we work to revise that policy. So my hope is it will make it faster. The other thing that I have told you when we talked about the initial budget process, that I wanted to stay within the scope that I gave you, and the only possible exception would be to come back and consider a position that would allow us to be more responsive in this area. He had suggested that we look toward, trying to automate and find ways to be faster in our response. And I know that Lorna and I had a discussion even today about a vendor who possibly might have a solution that would allow us to be more responsive and faster with public records requests.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Anybody else? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say, all those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Sorry, my brain was still thinking about that process. At this point, this closes the public hearing and vote.
Got two more.
I'm sorry, the second one.
I recommend board approval revision of policy 4.14, bullying and harassment, to update the district policy to comply with the requirements of Florida law regarding the bullying program authorized by the school district. Be included in policy. The effective date of this adoption shall be Wednesday, September 28, 2016.
Board members, you heard the second recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Dozier. Any discussion? Ms. Dozier.
Yes, I would ask that the superintendent give an explanation as to why what was added is just one sentence basically telling some of the programs that are used, or are the programs that are used here, in addition to the statement that was there that says proper prevention and intervention steps will be taken based on the level of severity of infraction as outlined in the Student Code of Conduct, the discipline matrix, and this policy. The following programs that provide instruction on identifying, preventing, and responding to bullying or harassment, including instruction on recognizing behaviors that lead to bullying and harassment, and taking appropriate preventative action based on those observations are authorized by the district. Second step, Bully Safe, Bully Busters, Bang Bang You're Dead, Pacers, We Will curriculum, and the Common Sense Media Educational Resources for digital citizenship.
So basically, it was just a statutory change. We were required by law to put that into policy. Mr. Martin, you want to?
Yes, sir, that's correct. A bill to pass the legislature this past session required that a list of the programs authorized by the school district be included in the policy.
It didn't change any content. Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And the last one, Dr. Atkins.
And board approval, the tentative district facilities work program 2016-2017 through 2035-2036.
Board members, you heard the recommendations. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Morgan, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. At this point, we will now move to board member comments and reports. I'll start with you, Ms. LaRiviere.
Let's see. Angela, Melvin, and Danielle left. I wanted to introduce Danielle to you. She is the social worker who works with Valerie's house and coordinates the evenings. And when they gather with a potluck dinner, and they get to be family, and then they get to break up according to parents, and children go off, and the kids get a chance to be kids and work through the grieving process, and the parents get a chance to be parents and work through it themselves. It meets a great need. And Dr. Santini, I am just grateful that we have you to be the executive director for Turnaround Schools, because you bring a lot to the table in the fact that you are held in high regard and well respected by our principals. And I just want you to know, I just am so appreciative that we have you in that position this year. And with regard to the situation, well, the two situations that I now have heard of at Cape Coral High School, and I understand things are under investigation. I don't know if there's anything that the superintendent can address at this time, but I just want to thank you for coming and letting your voice be heard, and we will do everything within our power to make sure things are done appropriately. And no other comment at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan.
Yes, I too regret that Angela has left, because I did want to make a comment about the fact that as a district, we have come to recognize that we can't meet the needs of every child and every family. And it's through partnerships with people like Angela that the needs of our students are being met by the community. It takes a community to raise a child, and I am very grateful for the work that she's done and the leadership she's shown in the community. So thank you wherever you are, Angela. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Angela. Ms. Dozier.
Thank you. Well, Veterans Park, didn't the kids do a great job? Wow, that was so uplifting. Really set the tune for a great meeting, or the pace for a great meeting this evening. I'd like to also congratulate Dr. Santini, and I know that you will not let us down. You will perform as well or better than you always do. You always seem to step it up every time you change positions. So thank you for your willingness to be out there in the district and helping those turnaround schools. My last comments are to Ms. Johns and to Ms. Carter. We put in a new program this year called Restorative Justice, and I guess this is from my board members as well as all of you. I have been very concerned about this program from the get-go for many reasons. One reason, because I wasn't sure that there would be adequate training for the teachers. I think that it can be a good program, but I'm not sure. I'm still hearing from teachers. I'm hearing from assistants in the schools. I'm hearing from parents that the program is not working. In fact, I just had a teacher call me 2 days ago, and she says, I am ready to walk out right now. She said, I am ready to quit. She said, I get no respect. She said, kids are walking out of my class. She said, I've had one girl that has walked out 3 times. She has yet to get a referral. And kids are literally running the schools in some schools. And that is not what restorative justice is. And so I am very concerned with the fact that we've got 2 students now, and 2 students that were injured, and yet here we have a program, and I don't know why people are not reacting to this program. I mean, obviously, there are situations that I agree with Ms. Johns. If her daughter was in the hospital, put to the hospital, somebody saw something. So, you know, we have got to look at this restorative justice. I know that it's kind of, you know, the group that put it together is kind of fallen by the wayside too. And so, I mean, I'm speaking here for all the kids that go to class every day. They do what they're supposed to do. In fact, the teacher that told me she was ready to walk out, and she asked me not to use her name, but she said, you know, I'm telling my students that the kids that are behaving, you need to tell your parents what's going on. You need to tell your parents that you know, you're not being able to have good instruction because all these other kids are misbehaving and nothing is being done about it. So, you know, that is going on in some of our schools, and something's got to be done about it. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm sure that you can find it. Thank you, Dr. Atkins, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Dozier. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you, and I don't want to belabor it, but my history is working with anti-bullying training, and I want to talk a little bit about restorative justice in relation to the Code of Conduct. Recently, over the past couple of years, we've made changes to the Code of Conduct, which include alternatives and strategies and interventions to help kids with their behavior. Restorative justice is not, it's a part of that. It's one of those strategies and one of those techniques. And yes, it takes time for everybody to be trained and to buy into it, because we are a punishment-minded society, and restorative justice really talks about people finding out how what they have done impacts other people, like in this case, and I'm so sorry for both of your daughters, and taking responsibility and making up for it, talking to the rest of the group and understanding how that kind of behavior is unacceptable in our society. It's a philosophical thing, and it's part of what we do with our Code of Conduct changes. So I would suggest that if what you described is happening in our schools, then there needs to be some identification of those schools and some discussion with the leadership there. And certainly, when people are acting like that and walking out of class, there should immediately be a consequence. So, you know, we're in the throes of change, and it does take time for everybody to buy into it, but I assure you that Dr. Atkins and our staff have been working very hard to make sure that our kids have a safe place to be every day in school. In fact, we recently had a Florida School Boards Association meeting here, and one group of children from one of our high schools came and told our colleagues from around the state that for them, their school is a safe place. And except for home and church and practice, sports practice, that's the only place they want to be, and that they want to stay there as long as they can. And we want that to be the case in every single one of our schools. And we will continue to work and do everything in our power to make sure that that happens. Mr. Fox, you are persistent, if nothing else. So, you know, Mrs. La Riviere and I have been working with Florida School Boards Association on advocacy. And we talk about spreading the word locally and with our legislators. We want board members to share information with teachers at schools and other staff members in our community. And I do want to tell you this, we're not only sitting up here, we're out there. We are at schools, we are at community agencies, we are at community organizations advocating. And the sales tax, in my own personal opinion, and I'm not speaking for my colleagues, is a very good idea. In fact, I've been advocating for it publicly for a couple of years now. Florida does not tax food, and if you don't spend the money, you don't pay the sales tax. Sales taxes generate 77% of the state's general operating revenues. No other state levied tax even comes close, so you're right about that. Equalizing school funding has saved Floridians from a lot of regional fighting over economic and racial disparities in school funding, but it doesn't save us from the politicians who declare themselves tax-cutting conservatives, who are really eager to shed the burden of financing public schools. The half-cent sales tax, there are tools and tips for referendum success. Several of our sister districts are now advocating for the sales tax, including Palm Beach. We've heard from Franklin, Escambia, Hernando, St. John's Beach, Sarasota, and they recommend that we do go for it, and a short time frame is what they think is part of the tool. I know that Dr. Atkins has been meeting with the business community, and we are looking at the possibility of having someone help us with the marketing, with getting a survey completed. And so there is some interest in that, especially when it comes to paying down the debt. We do need a focused message to educate the public, to outline the need, and to show the difference between the capital and operating budget. And what a lot of people don't know is that in 2007, we had over $600 million in our capital budget, and now we have about $150 million, and Dr. Desimore, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So there's a big disparity in that, and we struggle to be fiscally responsible. As we see here tonight, our financial people have won awards for doing that 13 years in a row, and so we want to be fiscally transparent. We want to show evidence of cost-cutting measures. We want to show how tourism will be paying a part of the contribution if we get the sales tax, and we do need to create a citizens advisory committee, such as a watchdog. It's a lot of work, yes, but it does promise a lot of return on the investment, and I will continue to advocate for that also. One last reminder that the Drug Free Coalition is having a hashtag refuse drugs, alcohol at Cape Coral High School at the homecoming on Friday night, and at Centennial Park on Saturday night they're having their run for prevention in an effort to raise funds to keep the youth in this community substance free. I want to thank all of our staff for all of their hard work, Mr. Martin for your work on the policies, and Dr. Atkins, I know that you guys really went above and beyond when it came to the public records request policy, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you all for coming and sharing your thoughts, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. And also on the public records request, Mr. Valenta, I'll get you a copy of the new policy. It's a complete new policy. Okay. And the reason why I caused a little bit of hesitation there is Dr. Atkins actually went out and found an attorney that specializes on the side of people that aren't getting the records that they need, and that's what this person does, and I believe it's with the radio industry, if I'm not mistaken.
Media, yes.
Yeah, the
TV,
media.
TV and radio.
Yeah, and so it was a very comprehensive effort, and I appreciate Dr. Atkins for it. Dr. Santini, I want to thank Dr. Atkins for finding, again, continuing to find the right people and putting them in the right positions, and I congratulate you on your position. And again, just like I said at the briefing meeting to all the other principals, given their performance updates at Bonita Elementary and Manatee, jumping out of a spot into a deeper part of the fire, and we appreciate that, and the amount of sacrifice that our leaders are doing is commendable, and I want to thank you for that. Angela that left, Angela, she believes in something. Angela's given it her all to devote herself completely for others. She's unique. She's special. I'm excited about everything she's going to do for us, as far as that particular cause. It's new, and I really appreciate her efforts as well. Dr. Atkins, I didn't get a chance to mention it, but Ms. La Riviera did. Would you please address, if you can, to the extent the two issues that we had at Cape in your comments and what status we are with that? And that's all I have. Mr. Martin.
Nothing this evening, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins.
Mary. I'm so sorry,
Did I
but I
miss you?
forgot one important thing.
Okay.
This is Bullying Prevention Month, October, and we'll continue our efforts with that. And also, there are 2 weeks in October that are Disability Awareness Weeks. And I wanted to thank Donna Jerf and our staff who work with our children with disabilities for all that they do every day. And they gave us a little candle and attached this starfish story saying that you make a difference every day. And they certainly do make a difference every day. And I just really want to appreciate them for the work they do and to encourage them to continue to support our children with disabilities.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Dr. Atkins.
Okay, the first thing that I do need to discuss, of course, is obviously the situation in Cape Coral. Unfortunately, I can't get into a lot of details here. I do understand that the police investigation, I just was informed that that is something that has closed as of today, but haven't had an opportunity to talk to law enforcement. I just would say this. I would caution commenting without the whole story. I've heard probably a lot more detail, and I don't think I've even heard it all. But whenever you weigh into a discipline case, they're often complicated, and you have to take into consideration context, both sides, and what the investigation occurred, or what they find at the school. So. And that applies, I think, in both of these cases. So I would encourage folks to work with our school development team to get the answers that they need. And that I need to leave it at that in terms of Cape Coral. I will say this about these types of incidents as it relates to any school. When I was a principal, I got to a point very early on in my career that violence of any type is something that I simply would not tolerate. And any suggestion, and if any misapplication of restorative justice or any other disciplinary procedure is absolutely not aligned with my philosophy when it comes to student discipline. I had a discussion with Judge Seals, who's over Project Yes, and my direction in this district is consequences that are meaningful, that change behavior, and that violence in school is simply not tolerated by any party. I don't believe in zero tolerance. In terms of zero tolerance policies, I remember a principal at Estero High School ended up on the Today Show because of zero tolerance policy, because discipline with students involves understanding the context of a situation and making a good decision as it relates to the context of that decision. And you can't simply follow a rule and render an outcome without considering how violent, how much damage, or how minor an incident was. You have to weigh all of that. But having said all that, if you apply the principles that we applied when I was a principal, you reduce the violence to the point where it's practically zero. But you can't tolerate anything, and you have to take a pretty hard line. And you have to have consequences beyond simply OSS and things like that, because those consequences just simply do not work. If you apply any type of restorative, it needs to be something that makes a student change their behavior. It is never a slap on the wrist or something where a student is just told to go back to class. And so Mrs. Dozier, I would encourage any teacher, and I'm serious about this, any teacher that feels that they are not being supported, that is something we have to know, because, our teachers have to be supported in the classroom. Because if they're not supported in the classroom, we cannot have instruction. This is not about, wanting to reduce a suspension rate, although I want to reduce the suspension rate. But the reason I want to reduce it is because I want it to be replaced by something that changes behavior, because every single student in our district deserves the opportunity to come to school and feel safe and secure. Unfortunately, that is not what is happening in some of our neighborhoods in this city, which is something Ms. Fisher spoke about. Those kids that she's talking about felt very safe and secure in their school. That is absolutely what I'm all about. So I would encourage teachers, do not suffer quietly and feel you're not supported. We have to know, because that will be addressed. Mr. Deming and Dr. Santini and Shanna Fletcher, but the two, particularly at the secondary level, Jerry Deming he goes on surprise visits to schools. And the reason is to make sure that safety and security protocols are applied with fidelity. The same thing is going on with Mr. Law and our inspectors. We're not telling people that we're coming, they're showing up and testing to make sure they're working, walking into cafeterias, watching hall changes, making sure that everybody's monitoring the way that they should be monitoring, because we're not going to stop until the incidents of violence, bullying, fighting, battery, drugs, all these things are dramatically reduced. And so you've got that commitment from me that is what we're about. So again, I just want to encourage people to report those things so that they can be addressed. I do want to address AC on buses. I would say Mr. Valente is correct. Mr. Law has discovered a maintenance issue as it relates to some of the ACs in buses, that maintenance was allowed to go too long. I'm trying to, and actually was burning up a part. I can't recall which one it is, but basically rendering the AC useless when it should have been maintained properly. So he has taken pretty aggressive steps to make sure that situation has been rectified. He just recently purchased a number of buses, as you know. In fact, I think I'm going to leave here and sign the papers for these buses, and then he's leasing something like 146 more, I believe. Finally, I want to say that when it comes to our bus fleet, we are looking at Act Point KPI, and believe it or not, this surprised me. Act Point KPI, the key performance indicators, looking at bus fleet age. We actually, 9 years is our average, which is right in line with Act Point KPI. However, average is not good enough for the school district of Lee County, so I think the measures he's taking, it's going to be much better in the future. So that's all my comments for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. The next scheduled meeting of the board on Monday, October 10th, there's a school board briefing at 2 p.m. and at 6 p.m. there's a school board action meeting. At this point, having no other business to come before the body, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Morgan, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is adjourned.